welcome to 2023. I have missed you all. I have not been on my YouTube game in a while. There's no excuse. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Today we are talking about my top 5 books I read in 2022. I read 18 books over the course of last year, 16 of which I read from like the last week of July till the last week of December. So like I had been reading a lot for no reason. I'm going to be counting down the top 5 books I had of this year. I have read so many good books. So if you're on Goodreads, come find me. I'm on there. I don't know how to add friends on Goodreads, but like figure it out. Come find me, and you can see my reviews for all of these books. And yeah, I'm hoping that 2023 will bring me more good books to read, more love and laughter and good books. So let's get started right now. Okay, this book is an honorable mention. It doesn't make the top 5, so it's really like top 6 books. Pacino, I think is by, I don't know if that's actually how you say it, but that's how I've been saying it. So like, if it's wrong, it's wrong, because I've been reading it, and so in my head it's Pacino. By Min Jin Lee. It's this beautiful intergenerational story. It spans generations, like I want to say 4 generations, I think. And it gives you this like beautiful bird's eye view of this family and the things that are happening to this family, the things that happen to the main character's children, and then their children, and then their children. There's just not enough words to describe like how well done an intergenerational story is done like this book. I think that it's coming out on Netflix. I think it's a show, but I haven't watched it because I don't watch stuff. This book has like almost everything. It has like history, sex, love, trauma, forgiveness, stereotypes, discrimination. It just has like a very rich history of things going on in this book, and I would recommend it. It is a big book. Like, it is a long story. It's not a quick and dirty read. You're gonna have to take time to read it and really like digest it, but I think it is very much worth it. So like, if you have time, if you're looking for a really deep, rich, beautiful book to get into, I highly recommend it. Okay, first up we're going to talk about Memphis by Tara Stringfellow. This book is coming in at number 5. It was this very beautiful story about 3 generations of women, a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. The plot is really, I think, at least to me, about the relationships between these women and the relationship between these women and like the other characters in the book. I think this book is done so well. It is very like blackety black. Like, the characters are very relatable and like engrossing and beautiful, and I think that, you know, this book reminded me of like being in like a black space, of like being at Hampton, being in a HBCU, but also in this book they're in a very predominantly black town, and it's very beautiful. I think that some of the parts that made me like it was how each chapter is a character. I felt like all of the characters were very distinct, and so it's very easy to tell who you're talking to or who you're reading from the perspective. I feel like the story does not move, well, I don't feel like, I know the story does not move in a linear direction. So like, it's not going to be like starting with grandma and then moving all the way through the daughter. It doesn't move like that. It kind of moves randomly. Like, some points we're talking to the daughter, some points we're talking to mom, talking through mom, some points we're talking through grandma, and the story doesn't necessarily follow a linear pattern, but I feel like the way the story is told, like, that's very helpful, because then you get more context to other characters as you're reading through like daughter or mom. You get more context once you start reading about grandma's story and stuff like that. I think it's just wonderfully done, and that's why it's coming in at number 5. Okay, up at number 4 is Black Cake by Shermaine, I think is how you say her name, Wilkerson. This is another story about black people. So like, all of the books in the top 5 are about black people, so just for context, you know, just so you know. This book is about Eleanor, and well, it's about Eleanor. Eleanor dies, and basically she leaves these recordings for her children to know her full life story. When I tell you this book had me in a chokehold, it was so good. Okay, so this book has a bit of everything. There's a little bit of this like intergenerational storyline. There's a bit of like murder mystery in it. There's a bit of trauma. There's coming of age. There's these interpersonal struggles between siblings. And I just love this story. Like, I thought it was so well done and so timely. And I think that something we don't necessarily talk too much about is like when our parents and grandparents die, like we, like as children, like we don't experience our people or as our parents as full people. We experience them as our parents. And so like this story does a really good job of like highlighting that fact and highlighting that like Eleanor had this whole life, this whole beautiful big life before she had her kids, and her kids knew none of it. And so I think that that is like the premise of the story. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say that this was like just a joy to read through. I think that everyone should read it, and I think that it had just like a little bit of everything for every person to read and take something from. So that's why it's number 4. Coming in at number 3 is the Whiteout by, okay, this book has a lot of authors, so let me just read it to make sure I don't forget anybody. Danielle Clayton, Tiffany Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, who wrote The Hate You Give, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon, who also wrote Everything, which is about, I can't even remember, but I read that book before. Anyways, this book, I read it so fast. It's such a cute young story. It's a young adult book. All of the characters are in high school, and you sort of go through, there's one like a main character, but you meet this main character's friends along the way across this story. I read this like as I was like sort of trying to get out of a reading slump. I needed something very light, but something very cute and adorable, and this book does it. I listened to it as an audiobook. 10 out of 10 recommend. Whoever the like actors were, there was a lot of people narrating the story when I listened to it. They were phenomenal. So if you're like looking to get into a really good audiobook, Whiteout is it. Let me think. Yeah, so there were some characters in the story, so you kind of like hop around through characters, and there are some people who I wish that I got more time with because I just love their story. They were just so cute. Like, I was like maybe 10% into the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this book already. It's so cute. It's teenage love. It's like all the hormones and feelings. It just is such a feel-good book. There were some critiques about some of the stuff being unrealistic, but like it's a book. So like I expected it to be unrealistic, and that's why I liked it. And so yeah, coming in at number 3 is Whiteout by all of those authors I just said before. Okay, coming in at number 2 is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This book is like, throw your book across the room good, okay? Like, it is this beautiful story about 2 authors who had connected at one point in their life and had disconnected by the time we start this story. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to reveal anything, because it's like my favorite book. I recommend it to everyone that is like, oh, I need a book to read. Read 7 Days in June. It has one of the best sex scenes in a book I've read in a long time. Just saying. And it has such a good story. Okay, so it's like a summer romance. It's cute. It's got tension. It's got like second chance love in it. It's got very likable characters. It's Black. It's just, yes, go read it. Go pick it up right now. I will leave links for all of these books in the description. I feel like there are books that like have Black people in them, and then there's books about Black people experience that is just so authentic that it feels real. This is one of those books, and I would recommend it. Yeah, there's not much else I can say without spoiling it, but it's a wonderful book. 7 Days in June. Check that out. Coming in at number 1, this should be no surprise to anyone who has talked to me in the last like couple months, but Open Water by Caleb Nelson. I think his middle name is Azuma. Caleb Azuma Nelson. I'm gonna put the cover here. Obviously, this book is This book really pulled me back into reading in late July. I didn't know anything about this book. I love the cover. It was beautiful. And this book is about two young people who meet at a pub in London, and they are both like artists trying to like figure their lives out, and also there's like this intense connection between them. That's all I'm gonna say. I would say that if you read this book, give it past like the first couple of chapters, because at first you're gonna be like really mad. But like I feel like it does such a beautiful job of capturing Black masculinity in a way that like feels authentic and feels real, and it captures Black masculinity in a way that like a lot of authors try to do but do very poorly. Caleb does it amazing. Shout out to Caleb. Mr. Nelson, you put your foot in this book. Like, it was so good. The love, the tension, the I guess, what is it called? The intimacy scene, like not intimacy as in sex, but just like it's a very intimate love story. That's how I'll put it. And I love this book. It feels so personal. It feels so like you are so invested in the main characters that it just blows you out away. Like this book blew me away. And I wish that I had the words to describe how beautiful this book is. Like, I am going to definitely read it again, probably in the next couple of weeks, because I feel like it's one of those books you just like continue to come back to and continue to get things from and continue to learn from. And there are not enough books about Black men in this vulnerable light that Open Water does. Like, I can't say enough good things about Open Water, and I want everyone to experience it, so go read it right now.